one on the call. It's Monica Reynolds. I'm excited to talk to you guys, and happy Thanksgiving next week. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving with your family and friends. And I look forward to today's call. Does anyone have a quick question for me before we get started? It's going to be an easy call. You can kick back and have a margarita. You're right, huh? Okay, we're ramping up for the end of the year, so these agents should be busy out there doing all kinds of stuff, meeting people, getting listing leads for next year, closing down deals, closing up business. Business is going to end for the year, and then it's all about next year here pretty quick. You'll get a gift every now and then where someone will be a cash buyer and wants to close in 10 days, but not likely all the time. All right, quick question. All right, top of the hour, Miss Stephanie, let's get this great call started for everyone today, please, ma'am.
Sounds good. Margarita sounds good.
Yeah, really, everyone.
Huh? This is Stephanie. I'm your fast track coordinator today. I'm going to make a few announcements before we get started, and I hand you back over to Coach Monica. We do ask you help keep the noise levels to a minimum. Please, if you're not interacting on the call, make sure your line is muted. You can use the mute button on your phone if you have one, or you can just hit *6 to mute and then *6 to unmute when you want to ask Monica a question or you have a comment. If you're on a cell phone or you have us on speaker, please keep yourself muted, as it does make an extremely loud echo for us. Please don't put us on hold, otherwise we will be listening to your hold music. Also, a heads up, we can see everyone's line that is dialed into this call and how much feedback is coming from it. If you forget to mute yourself and are creating too much feedback, I will mute you. I prefer not to, as once you're muted from my side, you're muted for the rest of the call without an option to interact or ask any questions. Okay, Monica, they're all yours.
Okay, Miss Stephanie. The good news, everyone, is that Stephanie isn't the mute queen like we are with the agent calls. Imagine that. All right, so a little bit of housekeeping. Happy Thanksgiving next week, and there is no call. The next call would be the first week of December, which would be the following week. That'll be for the agents. That will be the end of the course next month. So there's 3 calls in December, and congratulations, you've now graduated.
Okay, no problem.
So, with that said, everyone, let's get started on today's call, all right? Call today is call 15. It's buyers, short sales, and open houses. And some of you are going, oh, gosh. Well, I don't need to know about short sales, and no, I don't want to know about open houses. Okay, so be open-minded. You're going to have a tab, T-A-B, in your book, and it's going to say open houses. So when you have an agent, a buyer agent that wants to have an open house, you have a plan. You have a system. Buyers and short sales, you know, obviously short sales have changed over the last year. We're down to about 10 to 20% in most areas are short sales, where a few years ago we were 50%. And we always have buyers, and it's always good to know about a buyer. So with that said, okay, so questions to get ready. Are you able to handle an incoming buyer call if your agent is not there? Well, I should hope so. Do you and your agent have a professional buyer package? Well, if not, you will now. And when a buyer calls in, they need immediate gratification. You just can't throw them into voicemail and say, I'm sorry, the agent's not here, I'll give you their voicemail. That does not work. Do you have a lender you recommend your buyers to? If not, you need to have a meeting this time of year. Choose a lender that's going to be committed to responding quickly and professionally and with first-class service. So how do you handle short sales if you have one? Do you refer them out? Good, you still need the knowledge. Do you have a short sale package? If you refer them out, good, you still need a package so that when clients call you, you still are the guru of information. Open houses can be a great source of buyer leads if you have a system. Right now, the agents in my office are very focused on open houses. 1, we have low inventory, and 2, buyers are rolling around out there trying to find a home, especially because the rates came down again. All right, so on page 2, develop a buyer system, create an email campaign, buyer package, short sale package, and an open house package. So those are all the things today that are going to happen for you. All right? So turn the page to page 3 now. I'm going to give you some tips on handling buyers. And some agents just go, oh, good grief, buyers, they drive me crazy. So every great agent wants a foundation of listings. However, they also need a foundation and a system for buyers. So number one, if you'll write this down, please, everyone, is you need to track all buyer leads. So we have a buyer specialist in our office, and I call Troy air traffic control. Any buyer leads that comes into the office, he is on top of those buyer leads. They go on a spreadsheet. They go in. And number two is, you track all sources. We know the buyer's name, phone number, or we have their email address. We know where they came from. We know what source they came from. And every single week he's updating that list, which is critical because on Fridays I look at that list. All right, number three is you have to have scripts that are followed. So what is the script for returning a buyer call? What is the script when a buyer call comes in? So you have to have scripts. You have to have a way to ask questions so that you can do a great job professionally. If the agent's not there and you're one assistant and one agent, you should, in my personal opinion, be trained to handle that incoming call with a great script and filling in the answers. Now, none of the questions are going to get you into trouble. There's not a Department of Real Estate police that's going to come throw you in jail because you're not licensed. I highly recommend anyone on this call as an assistant that you would want to get licensed eventually. All right. The next thing I wrote down besides follow the script is to put, if it's internet leads, they've got to be put up on an 8x8, an email campaign, or 33 touch. And then I'm very critical about writing down the next one, and that is, and I'm a big, lead the charge on this, it's call, email, call. And so if you do get a phone number, it's not their job. And so I'd like you to write this down. Call, email, call, ... It's not their job to call you back, meaning it's not the buyer's job to call you back. So many times I've had agents say, well, I left them 2 messages. I guess they're not interested. It's not their job to call you back. And so you have to be absolutely on top of this, where the agent or the buyer agent, or if you're involved, is calling and emailing and calling and emailing. Stay on top of them. And obviously Keller Williams 33 touch 8x8 email campaigns are great. The next one you want to write down is office consultation. If a buyer comes into the office, there is a 75% conversion rate. 75% conversion rate. If they don't come into the office and an agent does what I call the jump and run, well, good luck with that. Your percentages are very low on jump and run. But the first thing is get them to come into the office for a consultation, get the buyer package, and talk about the different types of property and how you buy a property, and go over the contract, etc. Next thing you want to write down is have a buyer package. Have a buyer package. And then the last thing you're going to write down is to have a buyer accountability form, which will be coming up in some of the goal things that we'll be doing the next month. And so on that buyer accountability form, I have each agent on my team every Friday submit what are your top 10 buyer leads and rate them in order of A, B, or C. A meaning closing in 30 days or less, B 60 days or less, and C sometime, who knows. So at least they're rating their buyers and they can see the activity that they have. So tips on handling buyers is use a script, have an office consultation, have a buyer package, record all sources of leads, have a tracking system. These are very simple things when you think about it to put into place. And so today I'm going to help you with a lot of those. Okay, so here's a buyer-seller questionnaire. And obviously, energy, enthusiasm, know the time frame, the lender. And, I wrote here energy, enthusiasm, $50,000 call. So when a call comes in, if it's done correctly, that could be worth 3 to 4 to 5 deals over the course of the next 3 years if you turn this into a client for life and then get referrals out of them or they move, etc. So we always get the contact information, and then we say, thanks for calling. This is Stephanie. You're calling about a great property. While I look up that information, let me ask you a couple questions that'll help make your search easier to find a great home. So how long you've been looking for a property. And one of the things that we always ask, too, is how did you happen to call our office? You always want to know the source. Why did you call our office? And how did you happen to call our office? Because you've got to track the sources of business. Now, if you look up at the sources, let me explain what those are, because some of you will go, oh my gosh, because you're great analyticals, you will get paralyzed not knowing the answers to these, and you can't listen to what I'm saying because you're over here looking at this. COI is Center of Influence. JL, JS, just listed, just sold. Sign call, okay? Agent referral, AREF, agent referral. NREC, name recognition. I don't know how I know Chris Heller. I just have heard of him, okay? PC, past client, okay? PCREF, past client referral. KFMB and KOGO, just write radio, radio. Those are radio stations. Expired, FSBO, and web. Now, another one that we would write in there, because we're Dave Ramsey ELPs, we'd write in Dave Ramsey. So, now, we've got the sources here, and let me share something about breaking out sources, especially this time of year. A past client and a center of influence are different. A past client is somebody who bought a house from you and now's called you and wants to sell it and buy another, etc. A center of influence is someone who calls you and says, I'd like to do business with you, I know you, come list my house. That's center of influence. They're not a past client. Now, past client referrals is a past client, obviously, who called and said, I've got a friend who wants to buy a house. Those are critical to break those out. And so you've got agent referral and past client referral, name recognition. And so, you know, if you want to, which is always smart, you should add COI referral or SOI, sphere of influence, center of influence, however you want to say it. Okay? So these questions here, as an unlicensed person, you get to ask these questions. How long have you been looking for a property? Have you seen anything you like? Have you made any offers? How many homes have you seen? Describe the perfect property for you. That question right there, circle that. That question tells you their personality style. All right? What's the perfect time frame for you to move? Do you currently own? Do you rent? Have you spoken to a lender? And then you ask for the referral. All right? Next page, on page 6, is the contact time. So you always want to have a conversation log, a contact log. So those are really important. Now, page 7, now you're going to have a tab in your book that says buyer on it, or you can break it out buyer file system, which will have the buyer package, and then you can have buyer scripts be separate. But in building your office policy and procedures manual, you're going to have, you know, a couple of weeks off before our next class, so it's really important to start to whip this into shape, because one of the things that I'll say to the agents on the first week of December is that, have you seen your package? Have you seen your policy and procedures manual? As your assistant started it. So please, you got 2 weeks, put it together, all right? Page 7, buyer file system. So you send out an appointment letter, you enter the client information, you confirm the appointment, you run an MLS or put them up on a search. You call the listing offices to verify the appointment, put a map together if you need to strategically do that for the agent, put all the pertinent information. So you can make that, remember everything I give you is a blueprint, you cross off what makes no sense to you and fix it how you like, but now you have a system. So on page 8, this is some buyer information, and I know a lot of the programs, Top Producer, eEdge will be able, you can do this and then print it out, but I believe every buyer that every agent is working with in my office should have a file on their buyer. So contact date, is this a referral, what's their motivation, best times to work with them, property requirements, okay? All right, turn to page 10. Here's another buyer profile, which, you know, I put together, which works for us the best, is data profile, source, personality types, email addresses, work phone cell, price range, if they have an approval letter, who their lender is, income, career, education. Start filling those things out as you're talking to them. The agent would, or meeting with them also, contact record. So it's all on one piece of paper, easy to have, okay? Buyer showing schedule, if you have an analytical, it's always nice to put together a showing schedule when they show up and say, here's where we're going, attach a map, attach the MLS printouts, and if you have a husband and have a wife, this is a buyer showing schedule. All right, so let me back up here. You as great executive assistants, one of the things that you really want to focus on is being a guru of knowledge. And so in a team meeting, if you want to work on buyers and you start looking at, for example, your buyer conversion rate has gone down, then start bringing some of this information out and say, here's some things that could be helpful for you for conversion. Page 12. All right, so here's some emails. You know, and, you know, a lot of people call this like, you know, 8 days of pain, 10 days of pain. But these are automatic emails that are sent out, and they're easy to set up once you get the system in place. So now you have, as a reference, emails for buyers. Now you can give these out to your agents, or you can have and automatically set it up for them. Whatever your system is, as you end this year, you've got to look at what was our buyer conversion rate. What are we not doing that we should do? All right, so day 1, welcome to the hell or the home seller. Day 2, interested in properties before they hit the market. Day 3, just reduced. Day 4, relocating or local. So you've got some little taglines that absolutely, you know, perk their interest. Okay? So moving on, turn to page 15, okay? So on page 15, here is the beginning of a buyer package. Now, so, you know, some of these things sometimes you have to look at and you go, okay, is there a better way to say that? So one of the things right now, interest rates are at a 55-year low. I'd say they're at a historic 60-year low right now. Expect to get a mortgage rate with an interest rate below 4.5. So right now our rates dipped again, and you can even put in there 3.5 to 4.5 range, because there's even mortgages at 3% that are a 5-year ARM, and you know, those type of things. So there's plenty of great money out there, and so you want to entice them with, you know, what the rates are, and inventory's up in abundance, so you have lots of choices. Well, not so much here. I would just say inventory is available and sellers are motivated, you know, and so we don't have an abundance of inventory. So once again, you have to go through the letters and see what changes for you. So this letter a year ago was very appropriate. Right now in San Diego County, where I sell real estate, we've got half the inventory that we did a year ago.
Now we're in a totally
right?
different tax year.
Okay, so this is the beginning of a buyer package. All right. Any questions before I move on? Okay, self-explanatory. All right, page 16. Here is tips for buyers. It's important that you choose an experienced agent who is there for you. Your agent should be actively finding you potential homes, etc. So once again, if this is too much blah, blah, blah for you, then you as a great executive assistant work with your agent, buyer team to cut it back down. So what I like is, though, if you don't have a buyer package, put one together for your agent, your team, if you have one, and share it with them and say, here's what I learned in the assistant training. Let's dissect this and see what works and what doesn't work. So finding the right seller on page 17, importance of an inspection. So this is all the things that you would cover in a come to the office consultation. And remember, I hope you wrote that down, 75% conversion rate if the buyer comes into the office first, because they're telling you that they're a legitimate buyer. This is a business decision. They're treating it like that. They're just not saying, oh, just show me the house. Just show me the house. Okay? Avoid financial stress. So it explains, you know, how to avoid that. You know, about speaking to the lender and making sure that you're qualified. Why you should not make any major credit card purchases. Tells them why they cannot spend any money during this process, and do not open up any new credit cards. Information to be provided to the lender on page 20, and you'll want to look at this over, have your lender look it over, and make any corrections that are blatantly not true in your market, or not, or you need to add something that would be something that you'd want to add. And then my favorite page is one that I put together because I got tired of getting involved in these situations. So on page 22, do's and don'ts for borrowers during loan processing. So once we've committed to a property and we've negotiated the offer, we then go through this and say, this is a very important piece of paper that we'd like to go through with you. Do not quit your job or change jobs. Do not apply for credit anywhere else except with your lender. Do not change banks or transfer money. Do not co-sign for any reason for anyone. Do not purchase anything on credit like another car, a truck, a boat, furniture, or a refrigerator. Okay? Do not charge any abnormal amounts to your current credit cards or credit lines. Do not do anything like out of the ordinary. Do not send in late payments or incur late fees for anything. Do not wait longer than the time frame given your contract to provide all necessary paperwork. Okay, do keep all accounts current, including mortgage, loan, credit cards. Do contact both your lender and your sales associate anytime you have a question about anything about spending money. Do make all payments on time. Do have lender required money funds to your loan officer within 72 hours after home inspection is done, or appropriately before the closing. Do return phone calls from your agent, loan officer, settlement company within 2 hours of a message. So pay attention. So we have them sign off on this. But just to share with you a story, we had a gal with a computer company here in town, a software company, really good job, never bought a home before, very good credit, little tight getting into the house with the ratios. So she stretched a little bit more, knowing that she was going to get a bonus at the end of the year, knowing that her pay would go up next year because of her years of service there. She knew she was guaranteed a new pay. So she stretched. 1 week before closing, she went to Starbucks. And she looked in her wallet. She didn't have any money. So she pulls out this credit card, didn't even pay attention to it, and threw it down and charged like $7.42. This credit card had not been used. And so it immediately got opened as a $5,000 opened balance, meaning she opened the card and there it was. So even though it was a $7.42 item, it opened up her credit card to say that she had $5,000 worth of credit that she could take, and yes, she's starting to use her credit card. So the bank, about 3 days before closing, which they do, pulled her credit again, and her credit score didn't match. She now was over the limit because of the credit card had been opened up.
Would it be the same as the
So with that said, we had to start all over again and reapply, and yes, the closing got delayed. So this is just an example of something really ridiculous, but it's those simple mistakes like that. Or someone who goes out and buys a refrigerator and a washer and dryer a week before they're moving in and puts a couple $1,000s on a credit card, the bank goes back and checks, even though it's a valid reason. You can't do that until you have your loan. You've been, if you're tight, if you can't be charging things or buying a new car and opening lines of credit. Okay. So enough said on that. So page 24, hopefully that form will help you. Services you may need. List of vendors you refer people to, including their phone number.
And that matches up.
So these are the vendors that we use, and you can, we had a person in our office, Deborah, do a really nice little pamphlet with all our service providers, which is great. And so it's just part of our customer service. You may need some help in these areas. So the next form on page 27 is a form that Chris likes to have the buyers fill out. Are you an A, B, or C buyer? Highest priority buyer. Our second highest priority buyer. People who are ready to buy except they have a home to sell first, or lease to fulfill, or in the stages of getting pre-approved. And C is our third highest priority buyer. These people may buy a home when the right one comes along. Low motivation. So that's a great form to think about there. The bottom line on the buyer package is we also include things like there are 3 types of homes to sell out there if you want to make a note. There's 3 types of homes to buy. There's a traditional home, there's a short sale home, and then there's the REO. And you explain the pros and cons of each one. And on the short sale, you're going to say that the home will be bought in as-is condition and you may wait 6 to 9 months to move in. On a foreclosure REO, you're going to buy in as-is condition, and there may be some very, very important things that they'll have to address before they move in, like walls, toilet, whatever, gone. No, I'm just kidding, but, you have to explain those things. So, buyer package. Any questions about having a buyer package and why that's so important to have a buyer package just like you have a pre-list package? Can you add some of those things from your pre-list package into the buyer package about your team? Of course. That would be important. So the other thing that's obviously not here, but you guys should write this down, is a buyer-broker agreement. So once a buyer comes into our office, it's very simple for us to say we would also like you to sign a buyer-broker agreement that says to the seller when we negotiate the offer that we negotiate on your behalf for your interest. The seller pays the commission, but we want to notify the seller that we are negotiating for you. So we always like to include that. All right? Any questions about this?
Hi, Monica.
Hi, who's this?
This is Vicki from the Johns family team in Overland Park.
Oh, great, Vicki. I love the fact that you always contribute. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, what would you like to share today?
Okay, my question is questioning the importance of including every single contract document conceivable to man find in these buyer packets. We had two former buyer's agents that insisted that we have every single form in there. Our buyer book was up to 122 pages.
Oh, that's ridiculous. Let me share with you, this is my opinion. Let me share with you. I have literally had a buyer say to me during the consultation, you know what? This is way too much. This is too much information. I'm not going to allow people to crawl all over me like this. I don't want to do this. You know what? I'm just going to rinse for a while longer. I can't handle it. It's too much. So what I think is when you over-information someone and you don't make the process easier, how many do you lose? If 25% of the public out there is an analytical, they will like 120 pages. If you give that to me as a driver, I go, good grief. What have I got myself into? Are you kidding me?
Good.
Right?
I like to hear that.
Yes. So thank you for bringing that up. You want to keep it informative and simple. I personally, if you want to put a copy of the sales contract in there, that's fine, or give them a copy after you show them a house and say, here's another thing to look at, here's a copy of a contract, and we'll go through this later. The analyticals you want to give a copy of the contract to. The drivers, the amiables, expressives, don't even bother. They won't look at it, they won't read it, they'll expect you to handle it for them.
Exactly.
So you got to think of personality styles. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you.
Yeah, and I would say if your buyer package is over 20 pages long, you're too long. You're way too long.
They were printing off 10 at a time.
Oh my gosh. No, more is not better in that case. More is confusing.
Absolutely. That's what I thought.
Okay, good. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, any more comments or questions about that, please, from anyone?
Yeah, and then we paid one in May. We paid May's payment on
Okay, page 28.
July,
Alrighty. So I've closed over 500 short sales in my career. And currently the short sales are, like I said, 10 to 20% in most markets. Some agents say no thank you and move on, and that's okay. I need to help you with a mindset, though. Is that if you say no thank you and you move on, at least say to the client, great, we can help you. Allow me to send you a package of information, and the agent will also call you and recommend an agent who absolutely is an expert in the market on short sales. So one is you want to provide information and recommend and then send out a referral. Or two, you want to handle it in your office. So those are your choices. You don't ever say, no, we don't handle that, sorry. No, we don't do that. Oh, no, we're not going to do that, You want to say, yes, we have information, and yes, we will help find a great agent for you that specializes in that if you don't do it. Or you say, great, we can help you, and you take it on. So in my personal opinion, every agent should take on short sales. It's not that tough once you get a system down. So tips on short sales. Okay, number one, people matter. Respect their situation. Now, I've met some really crazy dodo birds out there who use their house literally as an ATM machine. Every time the market went up, they went and took more money out and bought a boat. They went traveling. I had one guy show me, look at my RV that I bought. It was $65,000. I never thought I could afford this. And I wanted to say, you can't afford it because now you were losing your house and now you're going to live in your RV. So, you've got to respect their decisions, even though they were not the decisions you may have recommended that they make. It was their decision. So people matter. Okay, number 2 on a short sale. Have the client come into the office. It is a business meeting about a short sale. Get them out of their home from where they're emotional and have them come into the office. I never, usually, as a rule, meet a short sale in their home. They come into the office, all right? Number 3, we send out the short sale package, and we have them bring all their paperwork that's required with them. Now, I don't kill the appointment by saying don't come if you don't have everything. So, Joan, I'm going to send you a packet of information, and in there is a list of information that we need from you that we need to send to the lender on your behalf. We need that information as soon as possible. In fact, we can't put it on the market until we get this information. 2 years tax returns, 2 months of statements, pay stubs, etc. Now, if you have a challenge with any of that, let's keep the appointment, and then we'll work with you, because we're going to also need a letter from you talking about your situation, and we can help with that. So I tell them to bring everything they possibly can in, and then I tell them also to keep copies for themselves, and every month keep updated copies of their bank statements, keep updated copies of their pay stubs, because the bank will come back and ask for updated versions. Okay, next one you want to write down, besides all paperwork before it goes on the market, you want to get that as fast as possible. Never put a home on the market that you don't have the seller package ready. Next one, number 4, you want to write down is know all the current regulations. So right now, if the property closes in this year, the customer, client, homeowner will get a full release in most cases. If the property does not close this year, Obama has not extended this to include next year. So what that means is that if a property sells $50,000 deficiency, the bank will then notify the IRS that they gave you a $50,000 credit. So if it's a $100,000 deficiency, you get a $100,000 notification to the IRS as income. You will pay tax on that amount of money. So that's why closing these short sales this year is so critically important. Okay, and hopefully they'll extend it. They did the last couple of years. All right, been doing this since 2010. The years before that, you got to pay the tax. All right, next one. Know about HAPA and moving expenses and benefits so that you can do a great job and apply and help your client, your seller, apply for moving expenses. A lot of agents don't know about HAPA program. They don't tell their client, and their client moves out on some help to get out of the house, which is always great. The next one you want to write down, number 6, is update the seller weekly. So even if you've got nothing to say, you're going to say, hi, Mr. Seller, just wanted to let you know we contacted the bank this week. They have no news for us. They have not made any additional requests. They do have the offer. So you have to, as a great assistant, call the bank, call the client, and say, we have no new news. All right? They have to be kept in the loop. The next one you want to write down is update the buyer agent weekly, and let them keep their buyer in the loop, because you want to know immediately if the buyer agent says, well, we started to look at other properties, this process is taking too long, my buyers are frustrated. So now you know, uh-oh, and here's the thought. 45% of all short sales fall apart before they close, meaning the buyer steps out. They don't want to wait. They're tired of waiting. They found something else. So number 8 is always have a backup from your team ready to go. Always have a backup from your team ready to go. So if a deal falls out on the short sale, no problem in my world. We've got a backup from our team, and we slide that right in. So we're always ready to go. And a couple of other tips on short sales right now that have made things a little bit different in the world is that banks are now coming back with strong counteroffers, meaning they're coming back and saying, okay, you listed the house at $450, you presented an offer for $420. We think the house is worth over $450 now. We think it's worth $460. So they're countering back higher sometimes than we had it listed because they're doing a new CMA, and the market in San Diego went up 18 to 20%. So they're going back on that now, saying, okay, well, here's the price. And so there's good news and bad news about that. And the good news is now we have a price the bank will sell it at, and sometimes the price is not very competitive at all. So we have to work through all that again. So once again, just know that the banks are coming back pretty aggressive with pricing. Page 29. Do you qualify for a short sale? So once again, if you guys don't handle short sales, at least be able to say to your client who calls in and wants information, I can send you some information. It'll help identify if you are a short sale and how it works. All right, so here, do you qualify for a short sale on page 29? The tax consequence, the basic, the short sale basics, possible advantages, possible problems, okay? All right, and then if you look at page 31, confirm the current market value, sign a listing agreement, authorization form, contact your lender, write a hardship letter, assemble the needed documents. This is the process. Then we negotiate and accept a purchase, submit the short sale package to the lender, negotiate the short sale with the lender, and close. We go through each one of these steps. Like I've done 500 of these. Every time I sit down with a short sale person, the people matter. I'm highly respectful of their situation no matter what, and I say, here are the steps. And then I check them off as I talk to them about it. Because it's overwhelming. They're losing their home no matter what they decided, how they got there. They're losing their home. Short sale application, seller's name, address, all of this information. We get a lot of information up front. Authorization form to contact lender. We get that signed. There may be lender number 2 on page 35. It may be someone who has a second, or we've seen a third, and we've seen a fourth. Oh, yes, we have, okay? And then how to prepare a financial statement. And if you look there, there's a standard website where you can pull down a template for a financial statement. And here are tips for a short sale letter on page 37. So you're going to have a tab that says short sale, and you're going to have a very comprehensive package. I don't think we're missing anything on this short sale thing. Hardship letter, here's an example. We tell them how to put the letter together. We also help them with that. Here's the document checklist on page 39. Oh, somebody got bored with me. Stephanie, thank you. Document checklist for short sale package. Then there's the short sale transaction checkoff list. Okay, tax returns, pay stubs. And then we recommend them seeking tax advice. Sorry, this was a scanned document. But basically, we're telling them to go seek tax advice. We do not want to get caught up when you didn't tell us that. How come we didn't say that? So we're telling them to go check, verify what we're saying. And the listing agreement addendum. So let me share another tip that I failed to mention on the short sale tips. Okay, every short sale we have has an offer within 10 days because we price it to get an offer within 10 days. The bank determines the ultimate sales price. So we get them to sign off that there's a 5 to 10% price reduction within the first 10 days. And third-party authorization form, you guys can understand that. Then page 45 is a financial statement. Now, here's a good one, 46. Always submit on page 46 a repair list. And the repair list is going to help them understand at the bank that this house has some repairs to be made to it. So remember, when we're trying to get the prices in line, along with the market evaluation, the broker opinion that they'll be doing, this is going to be very helpful. Okay? So there's one other page that's not in here that I think is really important, and that is that we ask them to keep the utilities on. We ask them to keep the property in, good condition, and we tell them the items that they cannot remove. And so the refrigerator belongs to them, the washer and dryer. No, you can't rip out the dishwasher. You shouldn't. And no, you can't take the center island that was built with the rest of the house. I had somebody who chopped out the center island. So, you've got to say, it matters how respectful you are to the property on the way out. It matters to the bank. And so please, let's make sure that these things happen. Totally different than an REO. Okay, any questions about that before I move on? No questions about short sales? Anybody doing them?
Monica, it's Vicki again. Yeah, we're doing them, and these are all the things that we collect from them. We actually have a great short sale attorney that we were referred to. We don't pay him. He gets paid by the bank, and he handles all of the communications for our clients with the bank.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. You guys charge 6%?
We do.
What we're doing is that we put that the commission is a 2.5 payout to the buyer. And that's the only commission that we don't split fairly half and half.
I don't know.
Explain that.
Okay, so if the commission is 6% and the bank agrees to pay 6%, we put in our MLS where it says commission, it'll say buyer agent, it'll say 2.5.
Oh, okay.
So I just gave you a raise to talk to your agents about.
Now, who's on the other side over there?
Because we're doing all the work, they'll go sell it for 2.5. We're going to negotiate 6 hard and strong all day. I know some agents who negotiate at 7, but we negotiate 6. We usually get, the 6%, but we're negotiating. We get 3.5 for listing and 2.5 for the buyer agent.
I like that.
Yeah, give yourself a raise today. Thank you very much. Good. I like that too. Good. Okay, so in my world right now, and probably in your world, we don't have a lot of listings. So I put together a contest for the agents in my office, the buyer agents, that if you had 4 open houses, you made 15 contacts. If you want to write this down, you have to do 4 open houses in this month, do 15 contacts a day, turn in your contact forms. You have to door knock 50 houses around each open house with a flyer, and you have to find 1 listing lead. And there are a few other things. And then I gave you a $1,000 Christmas bonus to do this. What's happened on my team, which is interesting, Ryan had 3 open houses and found 3 buyers that he put under contract. We don't have a lot of inventory, so buyers are rolling around there doing everything they can to find inventory also. So one of the things that I recommend is that if you do an open house correctly, then you will absolutely be successful. So there are 3 goals to an open house if you want to write them down. The goals are, number 1, find a new listing, meaning you're inviting the neighbors to come and you're looking for a new seller. So find a new listing. That's goal number 1. Number 2 is find a buyer. Okay, that's your second goal. And number 3 is, of course, sell the house. That would be phenomenal, all right? So those are your 3 goals. Find another new listing, find a buyer, or sell the house. And so open house tips, hold open houses when the market is hot. Right now, it's hot for listings. There aren't very many, and buyers are still out there trying to get hold of this interest rate. A lot of them think it's going up, and they're right, probably. We do a lot of open house signs, about 15 to 20, advertising the open house. That's a critical thing. Know the comps available properties. You door knock or call at least 100 of the neighbors. So we door knock 50 homes, the day of or a couple of days before, and we have a flyer inviting them to the open house. Bring a register. You need to have everybody person in. The seller asks that you sign in. The seller requests that you sign in. So we always teach our agents to have several clipboards with open house at the top. And if they wrote down something like Mickey and Minnie Mouse, you go, great, that's cute. May I ask you your name, please? Because the seller's really clear that for security reasons that I ask you who's in their house. Okay? So, open houses are a bonus activity over and above prospecting schedule for the week. Now, next page, open house checklist. So in your manual, in your policy and procedures manual, you could have open house be a tab, and you've got the whole system there. You'll be getting a register from me coming up in one of the following classes that I call the cleanup, where I just give you a whole bunch of different forms, and then you got to plug them in. The open house register, and I'll also probably put in the November contest for you to look at. These are great because now, we put it up on 4 different websites. So it's Craigslist, MLS. What are the websites? Zillow, Trulia. Where are the websites that this open house information is going on? And so you need to add that to these lists. Take 2 clipboards, clean up. We always say leave a note for the seller. I always call the seller afterwards and give them an update. That's customer service. That's real important to do. Okay, so today we talked about buyers. And one of the key things at this time of the year is, what is your conversion rate? How many buyers sales did you have? Did you have 50% buyer sales to 50% listing sold? Was it 70-30? What was it? Where are you missing the boat on buyers? Would it be having them come into an office consultation? Would it be the buyer package? Number 2, on short sales, have the information whether you refer it or not. Have the information, know how to answer the questions. Okay? Open houses. I highly recommend them if they're done correctly. In a great location, door knocking, calling the potential sellers in the neighborhood, look for a listing from an open house. That is one of the main focuses. Look for a listing. Okay. With that said, great group, who'd like to give me their top idea today? Who are you? Where are you from? Advertise yourself. And give me the number 1 idea that you got today.
One of the really good tips that I got today was, when you're working with a buyer, to tell them not to purchase, the refrigerator, the washer, dryer, if they're, moving soon. I would have thought, of course, you can do that, before. You need to do that, because if you need those things, you need to have them ready when you move in. But it could seriously alter their whole clothing.
Oh, it just changes their whole profile financially. So thank you for that. So that's called the do's and don'ts form. So once a contract has been made, you want to send that to a buyer and say, I need your initials on this, and I'd like to go through it with you. Boy, it'll save you a lot of grief. Try to restructure the loan, right? Good. Thank you for pointing that out. Hopefully everybody caught it just like you. All right. Good. Thank you. Thank you. Who's got number 2, please, idea today?
This is Mona from Glendora.
Mona from Glendora. I can count on you, too. All right, Miss Glendora. What'd you like?
I like the buyer-seller questionnaire.
The buyer-seller questionnaire. So when your agent's not there, you could easily ask these questions, and I'm going to share something with you, Mona. If you handed a questionnaire to an agent and said, this person called, they're waiting for you to call them back, here's some of their answers to these questions, that agent will love you. What's that?
I actually needed this last week. I had no idea which questions to ask.
Yay! Now you have it. All right. This is great news. Good job. Good job. All right. Good. Thanks, Mona. Good. Who's got number 3, please?
It's worth it. Yeah. I'm sure.
Hey Monica, it's Vicki again.
Of course, Vicki. I love you for this. You're my favorite. Okay, go ahead. What'd you like today?
I like the raise you gave me on the short sales.
All right, good. All right, so let's write that down. 6%, 3.5 to agent, listing agent, 2.5 to buyer agent.
Great, I love
They'll
it.
sell it all day long. They won't boycott it. These short sales are in demand right now because there's no listings, and I'm sure in Overland Park you're having the same thing, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's like, oh my gosh, they're selling them as fast as we get them. However, we're getting the short sales on a regular basis as well.
Well, good for you guys getting
it's almost
short
over.
sales still, because to me that's just gravy. But give yourself a raise right now. In fact, go back and change all the agreements that you have on any short sales that don't have an offer on it. Go back in MLS and change it, and get the seller to initial the change if you want to. But basically, the bank's the one who decides the commissions anyway. So
Yeah, they do.
do whatever you feel you need to do on that. Good job. All right. Perfect is right. Anybody got one more idea? One more. I was hoping somebody would say improve your buyer package, because that's a big part of the business. So I'll just say that for you. So take a look at the buyer package, improve the buyer package. Don't let it get out of control. It shouldn't be more than 20 pages. You'll scare off a buyer to where they go, oh gosh, I can't do this, it's too hard. Okay, assignments. All right. Write down policy and procedures manual. You've got 2 weeks to really work on that, because I want you to come to the calls. There's 2 calls in December for you, 1 for the agent, and that's the end of the course. So if you have something missing, you don't understand something, that's why work on your policy and procedures manual the next 2 weeks. The next 2 weeks is critical. Put it in your schedule and work on it, all right? Then I want you to review your buyer package, all right? And then I also want you to absolutely tab out this entire class, call number 15. Because you can. Because it's just simple. Open house, buyer, and short sale. So 3-hole punch it, put it in there under a tab, and boom, you're done. All right? So the tabs are open house, buyer, and short sale. Well, this is a simple one for you to get started and get some success right away. So, in next week, no call. It's Thanksgiving. Happy and safe Thanksgiving with your family. Number 2, the following week, the first week of December, is the agent's last call. So it's important that they get on that call. Tell them it's the last call of the course. And then we have 2 calls in December before Christmas. And then you will have completed and get your diploma, and you will have graduated. Won't that be great? All right, everyone. I'm Monica Reynolds, Monica at Heller the Home Seller. Email me if you have a question. Thanks for being on this call. I'm excited for you guys for the end of the year, because you're going to have a policy and procedures manual. You're going to be able to improve the agent's business. I appreciate your commitment. Thanks, everybody. Go have a great week, and happy Thanksgiving. Bye-bye.
Thanksgiving.
Thanks, Beef. Bye-bye.